Hey there, good people, and welcome back to the DNP podcast. I'm your host, Debo Agbede, and I'm ready for another week of NFL action. This week, we'll discuss the wild series of events that have happened in Indy this week that have led to Phillip Rivers being signed to their practice squad. Also, the Green Bay Packers coming off two big divisional wins and what this means for their playoff hopes. This pod is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, so like, rate, subscribe, and all that good stuff so you can stay up to date with each upload. Okay. It's been a tough 3 weeks for the Indianapolis Colts as they have come off their bye to a 3-game losing streak, two of those being to divisional rivals. To make things worse, in their most recent loss to the Jaguars, quarterback Daniel Jones, who had already been playing through a fractured fibula, so fair play to, still kick on after that, but he tore his Achilles and now he's out for this season. So who should step in to save their year? A 44-year-old father of 10, grandfather of 1, who last played in the NFL in 2020, Phillip Rivers. So that got announced earlier today by the Colts social media. I saw that even though Shefty reported that yesterday, as I'm recording this. But I've seen people say that, he's coming to give Riley Leonard a helping hand, which fair play to Riley Leonard. Like, watching that game, he didn't look terribly out of place. Like, I was pretty surprised, and I mean, who wasn't, right, when they heard the news that the Colts were working out Phillip Rivers and all that sort of but there have been people saying that he's coming to give him a helping hand and just, be around as a doomsday option. I'm afraid, people, Doomsday's already come, and he's here to contribute and play a part and be the starter for the remainder of the year to, take this team that was 8-2, now 8-5, and give them some sort of life, some sort of juice to get into the playoffs. And you consider the fact that father of 10, 44-year-old, grandfather of 1. During the Christmas period isn't just going to say, bye to the fam in Alabama and just head off to Indianapolis for, handing people advice. Like, if you want advice, mate, just, text me or anything. I don't know if I'm going to have to, fly all the way out to Indianapolis to do it. No, he's going back because he's, fully there, prepared and ready to finish off this next 4 games of the year for the Indianapolis Colts, which, what a final 4 games it's going to be for them, because you look at it, Seahawks this weekend, 49ers after that, Jags, Texans. These aren't, cupcakes that he's coming back to dice up, stand in the pocket and just sling that pill around. No, these are the best of the best defenses that he's coming back to try and give the Colts a little bit of runway going into it. So, what is there to? It's ridiculous. I'll be honest. It is. This is franchise that would do something like, bring in Jeff Saturday off of high school coaching to be their interim head coach for a remainder of a year, and now a 44-year-old who hasn't played in the NFL in 5 years. So, last game was January 9th, 2021. That is blinding lights by the weekends in the charts. Levitating, Dua Lipa, debate. I literally looked up of what was charting the last time he played, and now here we are 5 years later, and it is just throwing him to the wolves with the schedule he's going up against. It's unfortunate, it's tough. Is it something that a team would do if they had their pick going into the next year's draft? Most likely not. I don't think so. I think because the Colts are now in a situation, and we'll get back to maybe a look back at the trade in a minute, but you wouldn't do this if you somewhat gained from not winning these last couple of games. Would you go full all chips to the table if you hadn't done it already with shipping off your 2 first-round picks for the next 2 years. I highly doubt it. I also, I also think it's just, I don't know, to say arrogance, or to think that, okay, I like Brett Rippon can't come in and do his services, but I can bring in, my mate, because Shane Steichen, head coach of the Colts, was the QB coach for the Chargers when Philip Rivers was about. So they know each other. They run the same system because Rivers, as a high school coach with his son, was running the same offense. So they would reportedly have little conversations about how to run it. But yeah, it is a categorically insane thing to bring back Philip Rivers into the fold with the schedule that they've got coming up. And I just don't see. I mean, it's going to be great to watch. It's going to be great television. I believe that 49ers game at Lucas Oil is going to be a Monday nighter. So, boy, am I going to stay up just to see, the car crash, if we're being honest. Like, if anyone's got Jonathan Taylor in their fantasy, like, I'm sure you're hoping for him to hand it off 30 times, because that's realistically what it's going to take for the Colts to have any success out of these games. And it is just, a difficult thing. If you're a Colts fan, like, you can't surely look at this and say there's a measure of hope that, Philip Rivers is going to come in and it's going to be like, 2007 Philip Rivers, and he's just going to get the ball, throw it, sling it, trash talk, all the like. Like, it's a great story, it's a great, thing to have, but I feel like, that Seahawks game is going to come up and we're going to be like, oh, wait, no, this is like, I don't want to see this. It is just a tough, difficult thing to do, and a difficult thing to imagine that there's going to be a measure of success for the Colts in this one, which is tough considering the position they were in like after Berlin, right? I remember I was in Berlin watching, the Colts beat the Falcons in that game, and that was coming off because that was the week they traded for Sauce Gardner as well. So there was a lot of positivity and a boost, morale and everything. And like, if you spoke to any Colts fan, they were like, "Oh, this is the best thing ever. We have a competitor, a team that can make a run and a game in Arrowhead, and win that and put the Chiefs to bed." Like, there was optimism, and in the space of 4 weeks, that has generally all come crashing down. Because you look at the situation now with the Colts, and you've got Daniel Jones, who's torn his Achilles and is a free agent in the offseason. So when you make the trade for Sauce Gardner, you have the idea that, okay, Daniel Jones is our franchise guy now, that we can pay him in the offseason, team friendly, like a Darnold-esque, like Geno Smith before he went to the Rays, like a $35 million contract, which is like a middle of the road or lower middle of the road for a franchise quarterback. And then we have Sauce Gardner, and then free agents want to come to us, so that's how we can supplant the roster around him to be gone with the first rounders, because we don't need the quarterback, or don't need to spend it on the quarterback anymore. But now, how are you going to go into the off season with a guy coming off an Achilles? Are we going to give him that contract now? Or are we going to kind of put our wheels to the wagon of Daniel Jones? Are we going to go back to Anthony Richardson? Bloody hell, like, he's on IR now for an orbital bone injury, so obviously that's sight. Very important for quarterbacks to have sight, as you can imagine. Like, are we going to, ship our wagon to Riley Leonard now? But, if you liked Riley Leonard so much, why wouldn't you, ride out with him a little bit for this remainder part of the season, see what you have in him? It's a very delicate situation for the Colts now, because you're looking at how high and how grand things seem to be for the organization moving forward with their start to this year, and now you're like, oof, hold on a minute, like we could go back to where we were, going into this year, where it's like, oh, we are in the mediocrity, in the doldrums, and we don't have the Super Bowl in our sights like we thought we did. So it is going to be very interesting to see how this situation pans out. Like, I am very much in the mode of it's not going to work, because it's crazy to think someone can just step into the NFL off of a 5 years hiatus, if this is what we're going to call it, not even a retirement, a hiatus, a sabbatical of sorts, and just play similar to what he was doing before or anything close, when there was just so much has changed. Like, the NFL changed so much year to year, let alone half decade. So I will be watching with bated breath, because I think most people will be. But yeah, it's the NFL, man. That's the surprise it can give you. But let's wait and see. Who knows? Maybe the Colts go on a run. All right, who has had a good past 2 weeks? The Green Bay Packers, who've seen themselves reclaim their spot at the top of the NFC North after two impressive wins over the Lions on Thanksgiving and the Bears last weekend. The Packers are 9-3-1 and look to be in their groove heading into the playoffs. And I think this kind of all comes moving centrally into what is the catalyst for a Green Bay Packers Super Bowl push, and that is naturally their quarterback Jordan Love. Because you go back to earlier in the year when they were 2-0 and they were looking hot, and they had beat the Lions, they had beat the Commanders team, who at the time we thought were going to be something to consider later in the year, but that hasn't come to pass. But regardless, the defense was strong. Micah came in, was getting sacks, chasing everybody. Like, the defense throughout the year, with respect to them, has been good year round. And I remember, on this podcast talking about when Matt LaFleur was kind of under pressure, which definitely has seemed to quiet down, which naturally would when you win 4 in a row. But there was, question marks of, okay, the defense is doing its part and the offense is kind of sputtering. And when you're a team that has invested in the quarterback position, invested on defense, now you gave those 2 first-round picks to Micah Parsons, you're saying, okay, now this is when we go. And Jordan Love earlier in the year you could argue he wasn't pulling his weight in that regard, and the offense wasn't efficient and wasn't dynamic, or it was predictable. And then you had the last loss they had was a 7-10 home loss on Monday night to the Eagles, and you're saying, how are we only scoring 7 points when we are a supposed Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl championship quality team? Like, this offense needs to do more, needs to pull its weight. And with respect to the past couple of weeks and to the people involved, like, it very much has. Like, you look at since week 12, by EPA per play, Jordan Love is number 1, including your Staffords and Drake Mays, who are MVP candidates. Since the Eagles loss, it's been 11 tuds to 1 interception, which, granted, Jordan Love's only thrown 4 picks all year, which even then you would argue, wait, so has he been playing that bad? But yeah, I think there was definitely a period during the season where you could ask a lot more from Jordan Love, and you could say that despite the fact that he wasn't turning the ball over, he wasn't being that force multiplier that his contract of 50 odd million a year would definitely demand from someone of that ilk, which, again, as he does late in years and when it counts in December football and all that, he has grown into seasons, and this year is proving to be none such different, and you could very much say that if the Green Bay Packers have Jordan Love playing like this, their defense holding their weight and being stingy and nasty like they have been all year, then there isn't a team in the NFC that can stop them. Like, I fully believe that if the Packers play at their best from, wild card round onwards, if they manage to get the 1 seed, which I don't see happening with the way the Rams are playing, but regardless of that, if there's an NFC Championship game at SoFi and you've got the Packers rolling into town, if the Packers are playing at their best, the Rams won't beat them. The Packers will be your NFC champions going into Super Bowl. I fully believe that. And I think what those first 2 games of the season showed is that when they're at their best, when they're humming, when the offense is doing its part, when Micah Parsons at the end of games chasing down a quarterback, you're not going to be able to put a full 4 quarters together if the Packers are at their best. I don't see that being possible with who they've got on both sides of the ball, with Josh Jacobs running the ball, Devontae Wyatt interior, which is stay healthy, Micah as well, Rashawn Gary, look at Valent. Like, there is pieces anywhere you look, and with Green Bay. So if you're going to tell me that this is the Packers that we're going to see for the rest of the season, they're making the Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be reluctant in that mindset or reluctant in that opinion. I just think that is the way things are, no matter how the Rams are playing. And obviously the Rams themselves are a great team, Devontae, Puka and that, but I very much hitch my wagon to the Green Bay Packers if they are fully fit and fighting going into the playoffs. That's just the way I view it. And obviously open to discussion. There is a comment section if you disagree with me, both on Spotify and YouTube. So that is the way I see it. I think with a defense that's top 5 in yards allowed, top 6 in points allowed, that is a team that very much is at their A game. So that's my view. Green Bay, NFC favourites. I'll say it again. Green Bay, NFC favourites. Prove me otherwise. Alright, it's time for my favourite section of the show and yours. It's time for the Pick 6. Yes, indeed. The section where I pick 6 games against a spread in the NFL weekend and try and get a winning record as it's all said and done. So this season so far not looked good, not been great. 38 and 45 total, but they're just little by little picking up progress, getting closer by. Had 2 winning weekends prior to this past one just gone. This weekend went 3-3, but we're still at the same spot. We're still getting there. We're still reaching closer to that above 500 mark. Like, it's possible to get right there with a 6-0 weekend, and I feel good that this is the one. This is the one where that everything moves into the right direction, moves into the momentum shifts, and that bang, it's easy. Well, we week 15 going in now, so it's not much time to go, but it's coming. So we have a recap of last weekend. So we'll go first up. First time I had picked against my boys, and boy was I right. Seahawks -7. They won by 28, 37-9. Just an absolute hammering. 6-6 at halftime, so it looked a bit disturbing. But boy, I knew my team, and it is just the season's dead. I don't know how Raheem Morris hasn't been fired yet. Maybe due to the fact that we've got a Thursday nighter against the Bucks, which that's going to be a slog to go through. But to think, short week, you give him till then, but the season's done. He even said, I'm not firing special teams coordinator because it means nothing at this point. And you're right, the season means nothing now. So thanks for that and your great job throughout the year. But yeah, fingers crossed doesn't stick around past this season. Jags plus 1.5 against the Colts. Obviously, you have the Daniel Jones injury, which leads to Philip Rivers starting. Just saw that he's doing his press conference. So again, the guy is definitely starting this weekend, which sight to see, that's for sure. Hopefully, he makes to Monday night against the Niners. I mean, he makes the whole season actually, because do your thing, dude. But we'll see how it goes. Third bad one, Commanders plus 2.5 at the Vikings just got shut out. And the funny thing is about this one is obviously I did the pick on Wednesday when I usually record these, and it wasn't announced whether Jaden Daniels had been cleared to compete and to play. And then when he does get announced to play, the Commanders actually become favourites in the matchup. So I'm thinking, I've got I've played a blind here. Like Jaden's playing, I didn't even think that was going to happen, and he played. He got hurt. Zach Ertz did his ACL, so the Commanders just didn't play well to begin with. So a bit of a tough one coming off there, tough pick, but we'll see if I go their way in this week's picks. Bengals plus 5.5 at the Bills, looking great, looking shaky after Burrow throws a pick six and then a touchdown, but he scores touchdown again, so he gets the hook saving us in this one. That 0.5 right there, getting us the win in this pick. So ever grateful for the Bengals offense and just Bengals defense, or not even defense actually, because a pick six and then another turnover, like that loss falls pretty heavily on Burrow and those two turnovers at the end when they are looking comfortable, with all due respect. So yeah, that's a tough one for the Bengals to take. I'm sure playoffs essentially done, but the way the NFC North is going, man, until it's mathematically done, you ain't done. Bears plus 6.5 at the Packers. Now I guess it's a yin and yang, because the hook giveth and the hook taketh away. And considering the fact that the Bears are plus 6.5 and they're lost by 7, that's where they get you money. That's where they get you. And with that 4-1 at the end there, I'm thinking, they're on the same play that against the Eagles to put the dagger in. They're gonna get the tie here, and nope, they're intercepted. Keyshawn Nixon, who again part of that vaunted Packers defense, which, as I said in the last section, if everything clicks for them, no one can stop them. So yeah, not feeling too bad about that. And then last one, very interesting. I mean, Eagles minus 2.5 at the Chargers. They lose. Hurts has 5 turnovers, no tuds. Like, when you look at Jalen Hurts throughout the year, you think, okay, he's not setting the world alight, but he's got a high floor. He's not going to turn the ball over crazily. And then here's one. He has 2 turnovers on one play altogether. It's like, what the heck is going on? It was a absolutely insanely poor game by all accounts for the Eagles. I guess defense wasn't terrible, but yeah, the offense continues to disappoint. And for a team that has got insane quality wins this year, when you look at beating the Packers, beating the Rams, beating the Lions, like they've got some great scalps, but 8-5 and the Cowboys still lurking right behind them. It's going to be a very interesting end to the season there, because if these lot don't make the playoffs, then Sirianni, war questions asked. AJ Brown probably gone, even if they make the playoffs, even if they go on a run here, just because of the vibes. But going to be a very interesting off season for the Eagles if this thing ends poorly, and the way it's looking, it's going to be a poor end to their season. So anyway, that's enough for last week. Into this week, on to this week's picks. Starting up first off, Chargers plus 4.5 at the Chiefs. Short week for the Chargers, I know, but I just think the way the Chiefs are playing right now, like what they got, the what was their last result? It wasn't a positive one. Oh, the Texans on Sunday night. Yeah, lost by 10. Yeah, it's the Chiefs are very on dire straits, and when you're looking at games in the past that the Chiefs have been underdogs or not well fancied, but because they need the win, they get it regardless. Like that is not 2025 Chiefs so far, and I obviously pounded the table that they make the playoffs this year, a couple of weeks back. I'm not fully dead on that take. Like I won't pound the table, but I'll very much still back them, because of how tough the Chargers run in is anyway. But I don't think this is going to be a 5 point dominant-esque showing from the Chiefs. I think the plus 4.5 is too big a number, so I could easily see this being a 4 point win, field goal at the end sort of thing. Butker, it's at Arrowhead. It's not going to be, bad Chiefs, but it's definitely not going to be prime Chiefs, which I feel like being 4.5 point favourites to a Chargers team that does need the win still to be in a good position in the wildcard race. I think that's too much to give up, or too many to take. So I'll happily just I'll take those 4.5 points. Give me them. Second up, Giants minus 1.5 versus the Commanders. Recently came out. Jaden Daniels out for this one. Giants off of their bye. Jackson Dart, again, feel good story. And you know what? Part of this does come to the fact that it is that point in the year where the Giants have the number 1 overall pick and they get wins that they shouldn't get in the long run. But regardless, the guys in the field they're not going to tank a season as much as the front office wants to. So they get the game going. Commanders dead on their feet, and they just get the win. Minus 1.5 as well, so there's not much I'm giving up, but I'm still happily taking it at MetLife. Giants get the win here. Mario turned the ball over. You know how it goes. So, third pick, Browns plus 7.5 at the Bears. And you know what, Shadar? Fair play. That was a quality game. No, there's a lot of chat about Stefanski taking him out on that 2 point conversion at the end, but the Browns run that wildcat thing, whether it was Dylan Gabriel, whether it was Flacco, I believe. They do that where they hike it to Judkins and then he runs it in. Granted, that specific play call was a bit mad, but the concept of Shador not being in there when it's something that the Browns do actually do, I'm not too heavy on that. But why have I picked the Browns plus 7.5 here? Well, simply because the Bears, they've got this game sandwiched in between Packers and Packers, so there's an element of looking over. Look at the Bears' schedule. They've only got 2 wins by more than 7 points. Eagles on Black Friday, and then a Saints game in the middle of the year. But before that, the Raiders lost, which is by a point at the end. They don't dominate teams. So a team that doesn't have a great part or like a explosive passing offense as well is not built to absolutely set the world alight. So Bears win. I still feel like they'll come away with a win, but I feel like the touchdown plus the hook makes me feel like the Browns are able to cover here, so I'll take that happily. Next up, Panthers minus 2.5 at the Saints, off the bye themselves as well. A game that they will be amped for, considering the fact that they lost to the Saints last time out. At home, Tampa Bay most likely would have got the win on the Thursday night, or if not, there's even more juice because they are right there on their tail going into 2 games against Tampa. They'll have to get this win. I feel like they will, and they will want to make some form of statement with this. I don't feel like the Panthers if the Panthers win this one, and when they do, it's not going to be a scraping 2 point, 1 point. They'll have got enough points to make it look somewhat convincing. So I'll take that. The Dome as well. Bryce loves indoors. So yeah, give me that. Give me the 2.5 with the Panthers. I'll give up that. 49ers minus 12.5 home to the Titans. I've taken all the teams off of their bye because at this point that's pretty easy money. And again, the Titans just, they got the win last week, but I don't suspect them putting up 31 points again this season, whether it's regularly or not. They're just not going to do it. So a team of the Niners that has refreshed. Bob Sowell will have a plan. Cam Moore's not going to be able to sling the pill as much as he'd want to, or as well as he'd want to, or anything of the like. Like, what will it take for the 49ers to cover the 12.5? 20? Do they get 7, 10, so like 22? But yeah, it's like I don't think it will take many points for the Niners to cover the minus 12.5. So if there's anyone you're going to take a big line with, it's a team that's playing the Titans, and the Niners are the happy beneficiaries, and myself as well, because I'm going with them. And last but not least, Lions plus 5.5 at the Rams. It feels too big, and granted, in recent years, the Lions have a good record against the Rams ever since, the Goff-Stafford trade, and Goff having just that chip on his shoulder and that extra bit of violent venom for the Rams going into SoFi as well. I just don't think it's one where there's a level of dominance, a level of just men against boys, or a class divide. Like, the Lions need this win because they're still chasing the wild card spots. They're coming off an extra bit of rest because of the Thursday nighter against the Cowboys had the week prior. So it feels like one where the Lions could outright win, cause a little bit of a shock for the 1 seed. Like, the Rams have shown, like, when the team comes to play, they are a little bit liable to slipping up. So the Lions, who can run the ball, Jameer Gibbs, Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, that it's just one of those things where the plus 5.5 as well. Like, I don't think this is one the Rams win easily for sure. So I'll happily take the points for the Lions. And that is episode 18 of the DNP podcast. It's still moving, still grooving, still ready to go. And can't wait for the next one. Can't wait for this weekend of NFL action. Let's enjoy it. Let's have a good one. And support the boy. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, all platforms, all that good stuff, so you can stay up to date with each upload. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.